Hello, everybody. Today it is my pleasure to bring to you somebody whom I have known for many, many years now. He is Robert Bodenstein, and he is the current chairman of the International Council of Management Consulting Institutes. He's also been a consultant for now almost 40 years, a business consultant for almost 40 years, based out of Vienna in Austria. He runs an organization called Info Management in Vienna. And, 40 years ago, the world of consulting was very different. And he has seen the consulting profession evolve over all these years. And so not only in his role as the chairman of the ICMCI, but also as a practicing consultant, he has witnessed a lot of change and evolution. So he brings all his experience over here today. And it is this experience that we are going to be capitalizing on. I hope by the end of today's session, you have a very good introduction to ICMCI, much better and more current than I could ever give you. So Rob, this is our audience. We are a batch of 27, 28 participants, all of whom want to be consultants. And they're doing a program called the Advanced Certificate Program in Business Consulting from All India Management Association. And this is their introduction to ICMCI.
Very good. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. So, I also have been associated with ICMCI, but it's been many years now, and there's been a lot of water under the bridge. And I did visit the website recently, and I found that ICMCI has done a lot of work on developing a new competency framework to serve as a standard for assessment at the time of being a certified management consultant. And could you share something about this competency framework? What makes a consultant successful, all the competencies that are needed?
Yes. I sure will. Thank you. First of all, let me, set the scene a little bit about this question, because that's actually it's not so easy to answer in one sentence. First of all, I want to congratulate the participants to this training, because to be successful, the first step is to educated and trained in a proper way, and that you understand how the business is delivered and how the business is working. And to do so, the best thing is to attend trainings, and therefore I think it's really important for our business in general, because management consulting is very much related to lifelong learning. We cannot stop learning. We need to learn and develop our personalities and our knowledge, and learn from every single project, and that's what makes our business so interesting, and that's why I actually love it. You never stay on the same ground. You always have to move. You always have to look forward. But when you talk about competence, first we need to understand what is management consulting. We have to have the same understanding about this business, and we only can have this when we talk about client expectations. Like any business, it's the clients that drive the business, and it's the clients that buy, and at the end of the day, they hopefully pay for the services they received. And many people, and the word consulting is a word that is used very often in very different with many different regards. Like when you sell insurances, you're insurance consultants, and when you sell cars, you're a car consultant, or maybe a mobility consultant, or however you call it. Management consulting is a little bit different, and management consulting, in my understanding, always has these three piles: being independent, neutral, and professional. And to be in a position that you can promise your client that you understand your business, and you have the appropriate knowledge, and you have the appropriate experience. One way is to understand what kind of competences need to be available in your personality. It's of course, not every management consultant has the same personality. Of course, diversity and creativity, individuality. These are they are very important for our projects and for our business. But the competence framework is, as it's called, a framework. It's not a list of competences that need to be available. It is a framework, which means that you have a basic understanding of almost everything. and I call it, I very often call it sort of a T-shape. You have a very broad basic understanding of very much things, and you have a deep understanding and a deep focus for those fields of knowledge, the areas you are active in, where you really know the details. But that's a very important difference to many other consulting professions. We need to have this broad understanding of business. And we need to understand how economy is working. We need to understand the basics about controlling, marketing, strategy, logistics, almost everything. But we cannot be an expert in every field of knowledge. And when we talk about the business and the client's expectations, our clients would expect that we have this very broad understanding, but they wouldn't expect from us that we know everything. Well, some of us may know everything, but I doubt actually. And the competence framework is a tool to, first of all, to check yourself. Where are my fields of knowledge? Where's my expertise? Where do I have some white fields? Where do I need to make some improvements? Maybe attend some trainings, maybe read some books or whatever. It's and where would I say this is something I really am aware, not only aware of, I really am an expert in.
Yes.
And I'm out of my personal experience, when I started the business, I started to be not an expert, but I learned a lot about IT, because at this time in the early 80s, the IT was evolving and everybody was talking about personal computer, and nobody understood what actually is the meaning of a personal computer. What can you do in business? And that was just good luck for my personal situation. Nowadays, I'm doing many things and it's still related to IT, but I wouldn't say I'm only an IT expert. I learned so many things about many other things like controlling and marketing and strategy, of course. The competence framework, so is on the one side, it's for the consultant to understand where is my competence, where are my fields, where should I improve? And on the other side, to explain the client, what can you expect from me and what can you expect, what can't you expect? It's not, I wouldn't take the competence framework and take it to a client, but it's helping you to communicate and to talk with the client, that the client understands better what can you provide to handle the client's issues. And we recently developed a new version of the competence framework. Mm-hmm. Because the old competence framework was published, I don't know exactly, I think 2004 or maybe 2000, about this time. And things have changed. And I want to mention digitalization or IT. I would like to call it more, I say digital fitness. Digital fitness means a little bit more than knowing how Word or Excel are working. It is, you need to have a basic understanding about the actual trends, like what is artificial intelligence. You don't need to be an expert in artificial intelligence, but if you don't understand what it is, you cannot do consulting to any strategy, to any marketing strategy, because your clients might need to have it in delivering their business. Or maybe they don't need to have it in delivering their business because it doesn't make any sense. If they are running a restaurant, business intelligence, well, maybe there is something, but it doesn't appear suddenly in my mind what it might be. You need to have a basic understanding about GDPR. You cannot do strategic marketing workshops without understanding what is GDPR standing for. And that is, you need to have a basic understanding about Bitcoin and then other technologies that are trend technologies very often used in new IT projects. So I think digital fitness is something that is very important. And if you, as I said, you don't need to be an expert in everything. You don't need to be an expert in IT business, but you need to understand what it's going about.
Yeah.
And there is another thing that is very, I'm sorry.
Sorry, it needs to be a part of your competency, so that if you see an opportunity for application of any digital, you should be able to recommend and, you know, and help.
Recommend, or maybe start a process to make deep dives in these topics with some experts and whatever. But it's, if the client doesn't come up with this, maybe it's exactly on you. That's the job of the management consultant, that the management consultant raises the flag saying, well, we need to think about blockchain, or we need to think about platform economy, because that's the way how we reach our market in these days. But that's only one thing that has been adapted in the new competence framework. Another thing that is very important, I think, is well, sustainability. With regards to, well, we have a very nice structure of sustainability, sustainable development goals that were developed by the United Nations. They give a good guideline what needs to be part of many discussions with regards to strategy of companies. In these days, I don't think you can decide with your client. The client may say, I'm not interested in any sustainable goals, and I'm doing business, earning the most money that is possible, and the rest, I don't care. That might be a client decision. You might say, well, I don't think I'm the right partner for you because I have other values than you have, and so we don't fit to each other. But I think this business on the long term, they will not be successful, because you need, if you really want to be successful, you need to address sustainable approaches, and you need to change the way of buying well, your goods, how you deal with your employees, whatever the environment. And same like digital, you don't need to be an expert in every sustainable development goal, but you need to be able to address it and to discuss it with your client. And not that you need to convince your client to behave in a special manner, but it is something that should be on the table when you talk about management consulting services. And it should be very clear to all stakeholders in a consulting project what is on the table and how do you deal with it. And therefore we put that on the agenda of the competence. We think that talking about management consultants and competence framework for management consulting, that is another thing that has developed very much from 2004 on, and it needs to be something where the management consulting needs to have at least a basic knowledge.
I agree.
And the third thing I want to mention is what we call a code of ethics. We do have some, there is a code of ethics, and the behavior of management consulting, how does it fit to code of ethics of your client? And that is something that needs to be discussed with the client. If you do not do it, it will be something that is always an issue that is not, it's not sorted out, and it's always an issue that is somewhere in the room, but not handled in a proper way. It needs to be transparent. What are common values? Do you agree on these common values? How do you behave if the values are not common? Maybe they contradict, which is not so often, but in theory, it might appear. And I think your training also covers especially these topics, and Aneeta has a lot of experience to these regards. But the competence framework says a management consultant need to have a certain basic competence when he's talking about values and ethical behavior. So that's the meaning of the competence framework. Not only that from the consultant's perspective, but very much focused because the client is expecting it, and we should expect it from our personal approaches and our personal behavior and personal values. But if you don't expect anything out of that, fine for you. Your clients will do, and they will ask for that, and you need to be prepared.
So to update, things from the past, these are the new things that you find have changed and you have added to your competency framework. Digital fitness, sustainability, and also lots more on the code of ethics.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's totally fantastic. So I know ICMCI has, I've seen a lot of activity now by way of webinars and newsletters and blogs that are coming from ICMCI. So what are the training offerings from ICMCI for independent consultants particularly that would help them build these competencies and enable the consultants to learn and continue to learn and grow? So what is it that ICMCI can do to help the average independent consultant, particularly here in India where we are?
Mm-hmm. Well, ICMCI is an organization. The members of ICMCI are the IMCs, the institutes on national level. So we have something like 50 members worldwide, and we do not deal directly with the management consultants, but we are trying to provide knowledge and material for different providers of training courses, different providers of trainings. And that is especially, well, it is also with regards to the ISO standard, because the ISO standard is the ISO 20700 standard that is developed, published. It was published in 2017, and it is an ISO standard about what is management consulting and what needs to be considered when an agreement is made between client and consultant. And for this, and that also covers ethical code and sustainability and many other things, the whole project governance, I would say. We developed the whole training, and we are addressing trainers who are attending our trainers. So we do a trainer approach.
Okay.
And we provide the knowledge and the checklists to the trainers who are delivering their trainings to the consultants. But that is, it's beside many other things, it's very practical and pragmatic approach. We often don't speak the language that is used, and we live in different time zones, and so we don't have the resources to approach the members of our members, as we always say.
So Robert, my next question to you is, what are the plans to bring new directions to ICMCI in the coming years? What are some of the new initiatives on the anvil, and what can we look forward to see evolution in the consulting profession? What's the next level of evolution?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I think we're talking about two different piles. One is we provide knowledge, we provide material, we develop our certification. The CMC designation is developed by ICMCI, and we do the assessments. And I say the umbrella for this part of our work is more technical background. It's a basic technical background. But on the other side, and that is what we started recently, a couple of months ago, actually, we also want to focus a little bit more in the future on the background and discussing the future, which is not, nobody knows how is the future developing. Nobody has the glass bowl, but because we are so international and we have so different experience, so different approaches from different countries, different parts of the world, different type of management consultant providers, I think we do have very good resources to discuss this. We call it the Future of Consulting Initiative. And under this umbrella, we do have some specific services like the NCI, the National Consulting Index. We publish this index once a year. And that index gives an overview about how management consulting is developed in different parts of the world, in different countries. And it is a very strong relation. The better the economy, the better the industry. Or the other side, the better the management consulting industry, the better the economy, because management consultants provide value for the economy, and the economy provides value for the social life. And that is one part of the Future of Consulting Initiative. Nowadays, it's very hard to set up the next report, because all the indicators we are working with, they have been so much influenced by the pandemic situation that the revenues in some countries, they dropped from 100% to 2%, and in other countries they were quite stable or even improved, or even higher than before the pandemic situation. But for a statistic person, they say we cannot use these figures because they are out of any range, and therefore we need to find some solutions for this year, hopefully, and next year it will be again the established solution. And then we have this initiative, the young consultants. We invite the young consultants to share their experience and to get connected on a personal level, because maybe a young consultant in India might be connected to a young consultant in Finland or in England or even in Austria, I don't know. We developed quite a couple of more initiatives under this second umbrella, that is about thinking the future. And our academic fellows, we have a very strong academic fellows. They are writing a book about management consulting right now. All these things are new initiatives. Not all of them are new, because some of them have been developed in the last couple of years. But the new thing is that we want to have it in one strategic approach.
So the National Consulting Index is something very interesting, I would say, because that will really help to aggregate a lot of data within each country that's a member of ICMCI. And once we have that data, we have that information, then we are able to comprehend which way the profession is moving, up or down, and we become a viable economic sector of our own, rather than being loosely held and unorganized. So I really appreciate the initiative of the National Consulting Index, and I'm sure it's going to add value over the years, and become recognized as a great indicator of how various world economies are doing. So now my last question to you, Robert, is, you're a global personality, you're a global influencer in your role as chairman of ICMCI. But also you hail from Austria, and Austria has very special practice, which we hope other countries to achieve someday. And that is The Institute of Management Consultants in Austria is the one that is made it mandatory for all consultants to be certified by, you know, to have a CMC certification. And it's only if you have a CMC certification, then you can call yourself a consultant. Otherwise, you cannot call yourself the word consultant or management consultant. So what was that journey like? How did it begin? How did you achieve this stupendous milestone? And what can you share with us about that journey? It would be very interesting to learn about that.
Mm. But to be precise, you don't have to be a CMC to become a management consultant. You have to have a certain certification, and that certification is a specific background in your education and in your life experience. And in many situations, or in some situations, you need to make an own certification process. But if you are an experienced management consulting or an experienced top manager, you don't have to make this specific certification process.
Okay.
But of course, we are trying to have as many CMCs, because the CMC is the highest level of the highest designation level. And I think the CMC is something that is highly important to the market. The market is asking for quality, and CMC is the quality award, and that is very important. I'm absolutely sure that all of you know where Austria is. It's in the heart of Europe. It's not Australia. It sounds very close, but it's far, far away. It's opposite part of the globe. We are in the center of Europe. We have Mozart, but we don't have kangaroos in Austria, and we have a very European history. And the European history was very much shaped by emperors and so on. And one part of that was that in a certain time, every business was regulated. The whole economy was regulated. You couldn't do anything without having some body that was enabling you to do so. And these things, of course, changed, because now you can do more or less everything in more or less every part of Europe. But there is still something that is regulated, and that is everything that is of risk for life, if it could harm a person, because there is some dangers, like electricians and like people who build houses and so on and so forth, and they have to have certain certification or certain educational background. And in this basket, we were putting the very young profession, management consulting, that was formally established the first time in the 1900, something like 85 in this era. And then at this time we said, well, it's important for our clients to have a solid quality, and we are able to consult our clients understanding everything about the business. If we don't do it, it could be not for his personal risk, but it could be for the business risk. If you wouldn't understand the difference between revenue and profit or loss, we cannot deliver consulting services. And that was a little bit the history. Surprisingly, well, and then many things have been changed, and many things, well, everybody, economy liberal and no regulations, and let the economy do whatever they want to do. But now things are slightly going in the other direction again. That's something I would say, especially with regards to the sustainability, because nowadays many governments are thinking about, or some governments are starting to think about, it's very small beginning for the time being, but they're thinking about how can we assure some quality with regards to social, with regards to environment, with every risk, not only to a person, but also to the society and also to the environment. And I think management consulting can contribute a lot in that direction, because we are the profession that is able to bring that knowledge to our clients. But I have to say that might be a very long way, but it might be a track that we could think about to help the stakeholders, to help the politicians to think about in that direction. Yes. And if it's a standard certification process or something else, like they accept only CMCs when they do public offerings, for example, that's different from country to country.
So management consulting is regulated, although CMC is not mandatory, but there are some regulations on terms of qualifications and experiences that consultants definitely need to have. And in Austria, we're also speaking more about sustainability. So that's what I understand from what you are telling me about. So yes, so that sets the record very straight. And the antecedents are in your culture, in the history of perhaps too much regulation. And now there is more move towards more liberal and less regulated ways of functioning. But as of now, this is the status for management consultants. So that's very good information from your side, Robert. Is there anything that you would like to share with my class of 28 students who are learning, about business consulting and business consulting processes, and also going to be consulting into the future? So, any words of advice from experience and your global perspective?
I wouldn't call it an advice, but I would say what our profession is doing, we contribute a lot to the development of the economy, and you are a small part, like me or like in Aneeta, a very small part of this profession. But in total, the profession is growing, and it's so important that we are able to deliver our services in a proper way. We are delivering quality. We meet the client expectations. We know about the resources that we can provide, and we know about the framework, the governance that needs to be set up to deliver good projects. And if so, I'm 100% sure that the clients will understand, and the clients are willing, and not only willing, but they will buy your services.
Great, that's a wonderful perspective that you've built for us. So with this, we'll have to close now, and I would really like to extend a really warm word of thank you and gratitude from the All India Management Association, from the students, participants of this program, and from my side too. And it was great catching up with you one more time, Robert, and I hope we get to meet again someday in the future, and perhaps even work together like we did in the past.
Yes, I'm looking forward. Thank you, Aneeta. Thank you for the invitation, and all the best to you and your students.
Thank you.